Well, now we're at the last lecture, just something I usually do in the last time we meet, and trying to put things all together and connecting both to the final project and certainly the end of the term. Keeping that in mind, the current situation, of course, is that we're all facing Luleå University and the Swedish national government deciding that everything regarding exams and lectures, workshops, presentations need to be done on a distance basis now. And this is part of what they refer to as the importance of social distancing during the coronavirus. And of course, this connects to a lot of what we've talked about in this class, some of your other courses, like international business environment. It is a political, cultural, socio-economic issue facing not just companies, but every human being on Earth right now. And what we're trying to do, of course, is flatten the bell curve that relates to the number of cases and the exposed to the coronavirus and how the healthcare system can handle those cases. And certainly, the more we spread it out, the flatter the curve. And that means hospitals and clinics and doctors and nurses and all these incredible human beings that are helping to take care of our health are able to do it over a longer period of time, and we don't overwhelm the healthcare system in any of our respective countries. Certainly what this is doing economically to us. Yesterday, March 16th, was perhaps the worst market crash since 1929, the start of the Great Depression. It certainly goes back to 1987 and the crash then, and it's already worse than what happened both for 9/11 and back in 2008. So if you look at the Dow Jones and the markets in the United States yesterday, they were down almost 13, 12% respectively. So historical times, but not in a good way. But we all got to take care of each other and make sure you as students are still learning and still being able to pass your courses and graduate and get all that done. This is also connected to something called the Fear and Greed Index, and as of yesterday, March 16th, 2020, we are at the lowest I've ever seen it, extreme fear, scale of 1 to 100. These are tough times right now, and we will come out of it on top, but it's going to take a while. In terms of what I cover with you at the last lecture, I told you all at the first lecture my focus on teaching and therefore learning is what we need to learn, we learn by doing it. Because I agree with some others that if you practice things, if you get feedback along the way, workshops, presentations, meeting me informally, asking all the great questions that you've asked, if you just hear things or read it in the textbook and hear me lecture, I think you're eventually going to forget. You're not learning, you're memorizing to pass exams and pass courses for the most part. And I'm not a big believer in that, really, in any of my courses. But if you see it, if I can take theory like we did in class and connect it to the real world through a YouTube video or a guest lecture like Bruce, or certainly how I tried to connect things to your projects in the lectures, you begin to remember things, appreciate them in a slightly different way. And you're kind of developing this aha moment. What we're learning isn't just for passing an exam, but it's stuff that we might work with in our careers, or better hope that somebody's working with it in their careers. But if you do it, now you're understanding. And certainly if you get feedback, if you improve on things as you go along, you improve. And of course, this isn't just me saying this as a teacher and as an ex-coach, but Confucius said the first three, and certainly what we do in sports, really more as a metaphor right now. But we run the same drills over and over at every practice, so things become like breathing. They become automatic. And that's a little bit what I'm trying to do with you as business people. Certainly, what you brought to the picture varies because you all worked primarily in group projects this term. Did you contribute your time? Did you show up to class? Did you show up to your group meetings? And just because you showed up doesn't mean you put in effort. Did you read before you came to class? Did you do what you were supposed to do before the group meeting? And did you do all of this with a positive attitude? These are the three things that a teammate does. And certainly in my courses and in a lot of courses, we want you to practice your transferable skills, critical thinking, questioning things, analytical thinking, making sense of things, data, information, people, creative thinking, cracking open the right side of your brain, and coming up with your own ideas and believing in them. Strategic thinking, that's what this whole course is about. Developing marketing is the strategy used to create demands for products, services, brands, ideas. And in your case, ideas to change or improve the world we live in. And developing your people skills, teamwork, leadership skills, communication skills, both written and oral. But in terms of your final project, let's just quickly put that together here and walk through it. You have the full instructions as a PDF file in the Canvas room. But you're going to write that introduction using a bit of theory from Chapter 17 that talks about especially CSR. Chapter 1, the importance of international marketing, globalization, what's going on in the world, both positive and negative. But bring the reader into your idea to change or improve the world and how you're doing that. Introduce the idea. Don't go into a ton of details. That's what the rest of the marketing plan is going to do. But provide an outline of how it's going to be organized. But tell me as the teacher and you as students, what do you hope to gain out of doing this? What do you think before it started instead of taking a traditional exam, multiple choice, essay, things like that. There's lots of things you can discuss in this introduction. Then you're going to write your situation analysis. It's the mix of information and facts from secondary sources, as well as the use of theory from the textbook, Chapter 16, certainly Chapters 2 through 7. Strengths and weaknesses come from your idea, the company, the brand you are connected to, including the nonprofit organization you're marrying them to. Opportunities and threats come from these outside, what we call environmental forces, these marketing environments, the political, legal, economic, financial, social, cultural issues that you're doing this. And this lands you in a SWOT, which answers the question, what's the current situation facing our idea to change the world for this company, this brand right now? And ADA is your objectives, where you want to be at some point in the future. And in this course, you had a workshop on each of these. So you should be good to go with these based on the feedback you've already gotten from Tim at the workshops. And of course, once you develop these two anchors, you then talk about how you're going to connect them, which is the strategy, the roadmap. And in marketing, we develop strategy based on 4 Ps. A mix of ideas that the company might be already doing, and then you're going to have them continue to do, or ideas that you specifically come up with. Are you adapting, changing things a lot, completely, just a little bit, or are you standardizing, which saves them money, keeping things the same? That's the key. That's the key to international marketing versus what you learned about marketing in previous courses. It's the same 4 Ps. What changes is, can we standardize, keep it the same? Great. We feed economies of scale and we keep costs down. Or do you have to adapt it to the different context or the different situation, the border that you're crossing, or the borders in some cases? I'll talk about this one in a minute. It's an optional part for all the groups. I think you've already covered control, but I'll talk about the development of a marketing activity chart in a minute. But absolutely, you will all have a discussion at the end. Perhaps a short summary, but tell me what you've learned by doing this. What was it like to have this versus a more traditional final exam? If you had different opinions with each of the member in the group, each of you write a paragraph about this and say, according to Johan, blah, blah, blah. According to Suzanne, blah, blah, blah. How was it to work as a team? Did you have conflicts? How did you resolve them? What did you gain by doing this? Idea that you came up with. Again, implementation and control, it's that optional section. Implementation just means when and where you're going to do things from a marketing perspective and ultimately the costs. Here's how it's going to work for you guys. On the next overhead, I'll show you an example of a marketing activity chart. Some of the sample projects in the Canvas room have it, but they created their own. All of you are making a revenue projection. Your action objectives are using that. But usually we measure this against what things can potentially cost to show some kind of early return on investment. In many new marketing campaigns, it'll show a loss, which is perfectly normal. But I'm not asking you to bring in the costs and do some kind of budget projection with this, but at least you're doing it. This is the marketing activity chart, just an example. It's especially connected to the product P, when you might be making changes to it or testing those ideas. Maybe if it's a website, you've got to have some time pre-launch to get that ready. But a lot of it is connected, as you see, to the promotion P. what you're going to be communicating and how that connects to an awareness campaign or an interest campaign, things like that. And there is an example of this already in the Canvas room for you to download and use, or just create your own. Implementation and control. Control, most of you have already done this. When you presented your ADA, you talked about in a paragraph after you showed the specific measurable objective, you talked about this is how we intend to measure it. If you did not cover it, then you go back to each objective, state it specifically as you did up in the ADA section, and say, now this is how we would recommend measuring it. But again, write it out exactly as it was written in your ADA, then a short paragraph afterwards on how you would like to measure that objective. But like I said, most of you already did that up in ADA, so you don't need to do it again here, which is why this whole implementation and control section is really optional for all of you. Again, awareness, you might just state something as simple as use a marketing research firm for a telephone survey to look at awareness numbers or something like that. Otherwise, you can talk about how many people you reached through that awareness. That's often the number we use to saying that we reached more people and created this awareness than we had before. Interest, a lot of you talk about clicking on a website or liking something on social media or joining something or following something. For some groups, this might be multiple different things. Some of you are not using interest or desire, so it's different with each group and each project. Desire might mean I've got you on the website. Stickiness, do I get you to stay for a certain period of time and click through the website? Have you been here before? Do I get you to click back? Can I push you to use it more, fill it in, download something from the website? Again, a lot of you aren't using desire. A lot of groups are doing an AAA kind of hierarchy of effects, which is great. Action, I think all of you have multiple action objectives, just as the examples we talked about in class. Action 1, how much revenue did you make? Action 2, how much did you donate or raise based on that revenue? And action 3, how many people did you save or help, or how many schools did you build, or how many tons of plastic did you remove from the ocean? Sorry about that pop-up that just came up. So anyways, to kind of wrap things up, we're going from that one to many and moving one to a few, and really a lot of times one to one. You can email me anytime and ask questions. Or set up a time to meet, but it's going to be a virtual meeting now. So in the Canvas room, I will put a student-only Skype account name. It is regular Skype, not business Skype that I use with all of you, but either individually or even in groups, you can do it that way. And the name of my Skype for students only at LTU is Tim Foster LTU. So you just got to connect with me there, and then email me, of course, to set up a time. If a group wanted to get together, you could also do your presentation this way, and then just send me the note files either way for your presentation. For the final project, Dare to Care, it's due by Friday, March 27th, 23:59 at night. Attach it as a single PDF file to my email. Do not upload in Canvas. There have been problems in Canvas with uploads recently, so please just attach it. Make sure that you're not plagiarizing even on a small level. If you took something from another project, refer to that project or rewrite it so that it is your own words. But I still recommend referring to that other project. Whatever source of information you've got, it needs to refer to something else. And this all goes based on what I do when I put all of your projects through plagiarism software, and it connects to anything that has been on my computer with previous projects, and certainly anything online. So again, just make sure you're referring to things. But some things are in your head. You already have the information. You already have the idea. You don't need a reference for that. When you send this email to me, CC to everyone in the group. It makes it easier for me to click reply to all when I give you feedback on both your final project and on your presentation for a final grade for that. -2 points per day, late penalty, but I'm giving you kind of a little bit of an extension here. This really won't start till Wednesday, April 1st, but don't let anything interfere, please, with your start of LP4. Your future in international marketing. Stay in school if you can't find a job, or if this coronavirus is going to affect things. We have a 2-year International Business Masters. You can apply between September 15th and October 15th. We'd love to have you. Tons of job opportunities within marketing, so take advantage there. Thanks for a great term. It's been a joy to work with all of you. Stay safe, wash your hands, practice social distancing. Tim Foster out.